Day, welcome back. This is the first of a series of videos that we're going to use to talk about asset management. At Defense, we have a large and complex portfolio. There's several thousand buildings and thousands of works that we need to maintain. And when you're dealing with a portfolio of that complexity, you need to have some type of conceptual framework to guide your activities and your planning. And so asset management is the framework that we use to bound everything. And so if you're working with infrastructure, and especially if you're on our team, then understanding how asset management works, like what the key components are, it's an important thing to know. And so what we'll do is we'll explain what asset management is, and in some other videos, we'll explain some other asset management concepts that will help make you an effective member of the team. But in this video, all we're going to do is just talk about, broadly speaking, when we say asset management, what are we talking about? And so this is one of the official definitions from one of the infrastructure manuals out there. And a couple of key points, or asset management is a systematic process of planning, operating, maintaining, upgrading, and replacing assets cost effectively with minimum risk and at the expected level of service over the asset lifecycle. Now, we'll never ask you to memorize and repeat this, but there are a couple of key concepts here. So we're talking about planning, operating, maintaining, upgrading, and replacing. So that's one group of things. At the same time, you have to think about risk and levels of service and cost. And you have to think that all of these things are being done over a long period of time, called the asset life cycle. And so what we're going to do is look at each one of these concepts in turn. So asset management planning means thinking about all these capital budgets and all this decision making that you have to do for a series of decisions over a very long period of time. And all of these decisions have to balance the risk, the level of service, and the cost over the duration of not just the asset you're thinking of, but when you have a portfolio of assets, you have to plan out these decisions for all of them. And sometimes there's a bunch of sequencing decision making that needs to be done, so you're not building things too soon or too late. You can't make these decisions off the cuff. It's better, and you'll have better outcomes if you can plan ahead. And the next thing we'll talk about is operating. Operating an asset means all of the activities that you need to do on a daily basis to keep that building going and being useful. And these include daily maintenance, daily inspections, making sure that janitorial services are making sure that it's a nice working environment, other types of cleaning like windows, making sure that the snow is clear, that the building is safe and secure. And operating also means that the energy bills are getting paid and tracked. So all these daily activities would fall under operating. While operating can include some daily maintenance, maintaining a building is its own separate category because this truly focuses on the maintenance strategies that you have for the asset's key structural systems. So if one of these things breaks, then your entire asset is at risk. So these are your maintenance plans for your electricity, your roof, your HVAC, and your plumbing. And there are different types of strategies that you can employ. And there are different types of maintenance. So different types of maintenance include preventative maintenance, corrective maintenance. So corrective is the one you don't want to get because that's when you're fixing something that already broke. The other maintenance types like proactive, preventative, and scheduled are doing maintenance before something breaks and trying to actually time the best method of maintaining a building is a key decision-making item. Next, we'll look at upgrading. Sometimes, rather than building a new building or moving, what you want to do is have a nice renovation and stay home. So these upgrading decisions are designed to use your existing asset, renovate them so that they can do either new things or extend their service life. You do this when you have a building that's in decent condition, and with that investment, it'll cost less than actually building a new building to allow you to adapt to some type of new function or just to extend the life of a current asset. And last, as much as we love to maintain these buildings and upgrade them, eventually some buildings, they're just too old to keep. Just like an old car that has a lot of expensive repairs, very often it's a lot cheaper to buy a new car than to fix an old one. The same thing happens with buildings. And so when that does happen, you're planning out your replacement so that you have a new asset that can continue the function because the building exists for a purpose. So that purpose can continue in a new asset, and then you dispose or demolish that old building that you no longer need. Now, all of these decisions need to be done during the asset life cycle. So different types of maintenance strategies will kick in, and we'll talk about that in a different video. And all of these decisions throughout the entire asset lifecycle need to be taking into consideration risk, levels of service, and cost. We'll also talk about those in another video. And the thing to keep in mind is that when we are doing an asset management plan, we are not thinking about an individual building. We are doing all of this and thinking about all of these things as we are managing thousands of buildings. That's what makes this job, in my opinion, quite interesting. So, one of the reasons why we do all of this is that it gives us the opportunity or the capability to actually help lower our life cycle costs with good decision making. It also gives us opportunities to increase levels of service. Last, effective asset management provides decision makers the tools to actually balance out risks and levels of service. There's different decision models that we can use to show the value of investing or not investing in an asset and its effect on the entire portfolio as a whole. So that's all we're going to do right now in this video. This is a gentle introduction to a very complex topic. In some other videos, we're going to look at different concepts in more detail. See you then.